Hello and welcome to the headquarters of Aeromind, the official distributor of Yuneec drones in Poland. Today we're here to take a look at the new H520E and one of the payloads for this drone, which is the E90X camera. Let's start with unboxing. First I'm going to unbox the camera. There is a manual over here, a little protective layer over here, and the camera comes right out. It's a similar model to the E90 camera known from the H520 drone. However, there is a big difference in the way it is mounted to the drone. This ring is a completely new design that allows using 30 instead of 6 electrical pins, which increases the amount of data that can be sent through. And also this ring seems to be a lot more sturdy than the earlier solution of the mounting of the gimbal. Let's take a look at the drone. There's an additional hole here which can accommodate the RTK antenna, because the H520E exists in two separate versions. One of them has RTK capability. There are two batteries, just like in a standard H520. In this box we have some accessories which include a lanyard for the controller, an adapter to charge your batteries in your car. This is for a car lighter 12-volt port, a small patch antenna, and a power supply for the charger. The charger is over here. It's very similar design to what we know from earlier Typhoon models, except for the color this time. We have 10 propellers, 6 standard ones and 4 spares. There's a little box with documentation, with manuals. There's a sunshade for the controller. You can mount over the screen. Finally, the controller itself, which is a design based on the earlier ST16s. This is ST16S with 3 antennas. And finally, the drone over here. It's worth mentioning that this part over here is exactly the same size as in the earlier models, which allows you to use this part as a filler for the specially designed Yuneec backpack for Typhoon drones. So it's in the same standard, it's in the same size, so you can easily use the same backpack. Okay, so as I mentioned, one of the first things that you notice is the antennas and the module over here. So how is this different from the earlier H520? Well, the H520E is equipped with this module in the back, which is responsible for OFDM modulation. This is a kind of modulation of electromagnetic waves, electromagnetic signal, that allows to achieve a lot larger range of wireless communication and diminishing the negative effects of interference from any outside sources such as Wi-Fi routers or any other telecommunication devices. So thanks to that, the new H520E has increased its range to 3.5 kilometers in the European version and even up to 7 kilometers in the American version. So the FCC version is 7 kilometers and the CE version is 3.5, which is a great improvement when you compare it to 1.6 kilometers for the CE version in the earlier H520. Another thing that everybody has been waiting for is the RTK functionality. RTK stands for real-time kinematic, and basically it's a technology that's related to GNSS technology or GPS technology or any other kind of global positioning system that uses satellite communication. And RTK allows to greatly increase the precision of the readouts of the position. So basically how RTK works is that there's a base station which receives the same signals from the same satellites as the drone. The information and the signals are compared in between these two devices, which allows to eliminate errors that might occur. One of the types of these errors, well, there are many, but one of the types is a multipath error, where a signal from a satellite bounces off an object such as a building and then is received by the drone. Because the GPS and GNSS in general uses very precise timing for acquisition of the position of the device, this creates an error and could cause quite severe problems in case of drones, because a drone that is hovering near a tall building is getting erroneous information, and this might affect how it keeps its position, even to the point where it might drift off and crash into something. RTK helps prevent that, but the most important aspect of RTK is that it increases the precision of the positioning. So when we perform a survey and we take photos, the geolocalization of these photos is a lot more precise than in comparison with solutions that don't use RTK. So another difference that's very important, like I mentioned before, is this port. Yuneec has called it the X port. It's a lot more modern and sturdy design than the previous ones, although it was also very good. But the important thing about this is that thanks to the 30 pins that it contains on both sides, manufacturers of any other payload that you might want to use with this drone can integrate their device with this drone. So if you want, for example, a multispectral camera or any other sensor, maybe a radiation sensor or anything else really, it can be integrated with the H520E using this port. Now that's not all, because Yuneec with the H520E, Yuneec is continuing the program of certified accessories and the SDK, which is a software development kit. So Yuneec allows software developers to download the SDK, the software development kit, in order to maybe write new firmware for these devices, maybe to write a different application instead of the data pilot, which is the default app in the controller. The possibilities are pretty much endless, but the important thing is that Yuneec is providing manufacturers tools to integrate any device that they might want to integrate with the H520E. But furthermore, Yuneec has started a certified accessory program. It's called the Yuneec Certified Accessory program, in which a manufacturer of such a solution, if a manufacturer of any different payload might want to certify their product with Yuneec, which allows to use this product without any risk, with assurance of proper integration and without losing warranty. But Yuneec didn't stop there. There are more innovations in the H520E model, and you might notice the different port over here. The different port for the battery is one of those innovations, but also the battery has a larger capacity, which increased the flight time. But the increase of the flight time is also thanks to the construction of the gimbal mount, because thanks to this new concept, all the payloads that are for the H520E are lighter than their equivalent for the H520. So for example, E90 is heavier than the E90E that's visible over here. But there's another thing that's related to the power supply system of this drone. And if you notice this little bump over here, it contains a small mechanism that can detect whether or not the battery in the drone is installed properly. So if it's not, the drone will not allow you to arm the motors and take flight, obviously to avoid risk of the battery falling out or losing contact during flight. Okay, so now let's take a look at the ST16S controller. It's quite similar to what we've seen in the earlier models, but there are differences as well. One of the differences that's probably the most important is the internal processor, which is a lot more powerful in comparison with the earlier versions. And this is not only to accommodate the app, the Data Pilot app, which is the default app for this controller and drone, but also to accommodate for the additional processing power that might be required by any third-party payloads that are developed through the Yuneec Certified Accessory program, or some apps, applications that could be run on this device instead of Data Pilot, made using the SDK, the software development kit, by third-party software developers. So this is a really important difference, but that's not all. If we open up the Data Pilot and take a look at the menu, we'll see some tiny differences. For example, there's an additional submenu for the RTK connectivity to connect with your base station or with the network of base stations. And there is another submenu that's dedicated to any third-party payloads. So if there are any options that, or maybe a switch or something like that, that a third-party payload would require, then these options will be there. For example, there is a position there for the bumper cage, in which case, if you install the bumper cage and turn on the bumper cage mode, the landing gear will not be possible to fold up the landing gear, because if you fully install the bumper cage, it's attached partially to the landing gear. So in order to omit any form of damage to the bumper cage or anything else, you can turn on that mode. And in this menu, we will see a possibility to explore any options about any officially approved payload. Another difference that I think will be interesting for anyone interested in photogrammetry is a new form of survey, which is called wall scan. And wall scan is basically similar to a structure scan, where a drone is taking photos along the walls of a certain structure in layers, first lower then higher, or the other way around if you prefer it. Anyway, in the wall scan, you have the option to only scan one wall instead of the whole structure all around it. So I'm sure this will be a really interesting option. Other than that, you'll notice that the layout is pretty much the same. It's very clear. It's very useful, and basically the priority for this app and for this layout is to be as utilitarian as possible, and this is achieved well. So it was achieved already in the H520, so it didn't really require any changes here. So as long as we're looking at things that are the same or similar in comparison with the old H520, you'll obviously notice that this drone is using 6 rotors, which is a design that's been tested and approved so many times in very difficult conditions. It's really the best possible option for windy conditions. The stability in high winds is really, I think, the best in the market in this price range and in this size. So this is really great, and Yuneec is building on that, using the experience with the H520 and taking the best from the H520 and putting it in the new model. So that is obviously a continuation of the older one. Another thing that's a heritage from the H520 is the flight controller. This is a PX4 flight controller, so it's a Pixhawk based drone. It's a solution that's been tested in many professional applications, and it's been working great with the H520 so far. So here we have the PX4 used once again, and with all the capabilities that it gives to the user, I think it's a really great choice, and I'm really happy that it didn't go in any other direction. Also, the payloads are pretty similar to what we had in the H520, with the exception that all the models are almost the same. They are all called almost the same, but the name has X on the end, signifying that it has the X connector that I've been talking about earlier. So it's just adapted to the new solution with the mounting ring. But thanks to the ring and the standardized nature of it, and the SDK and the Yuneec Certified Accessory program, basically the possibilities for expanding the payloads are pretty much endless, because anyone, any manufacturer, any engineer or designer can create their own payload for their own use. They can certify it with Yuneec, and I think that's really great. And the last thing I wanted to mention, which is also something that we know from the H520, is the possibility to use the Data Pilot Planner app, which is which is a PC and Mac program. It's software for computers, not for the controller. If you want to program all your flights precisely on your computer, then you can do it. You can import. There's a number of ways to import the flight plan to the drone. So this functionality is also taken from the older H520, and I'm sure all the professional users will be really happy about that. So to sum up, the Yuneec H520E is building on the best aspects of the H520, but it's been upgraded and developed in all the ways that the users have been really longing for. So the range, the RTK functionality, expandable payloads, all of that is available with the new Yuneec H520. We've already performed test flights with it. It flies great, obviously, even in windy conditions, because we already tried that as well. It's been working great right out of the box, even though this is a pre-production model. So it's really been a pleasure to use it for us, and I'm sure it will also be a pleasure to use for you. Thank you for your attention. This has been the Yuneec H520E.